Let's get to our task force this morning. Rick Santelli and Scott Nations of Fortress Trading at the CME Group in Chicago. Doug DeShiel's here. He's the CEO of First Principles Capital Management. And our guest host this morning, YRC Chairman and CEO Bill Zollars. Joe, I'm turning this over to you.
Santelli, if there's 10 times the number of futures contracts that there used to be for the same amount, I know there's more product, but let's say there's 10 times the amount. Doug DeShiel points out that if guys agree, you just roll it forward. You don't take delivery. Explain that.
You know what? Okay, hold on. Even Mr. Masters, I think, missed this. The ETFs and the speculation do screw things up. The deferred contracts in contango mean all the airlines have to pay much more for their hedges, and it makes them non-economic. They don't make sense. But at the end of the day, whether you've gone from $4 billion to $400 billion in the commodities sector, in oil in particular, when that contract expires on the last day, there is no speculation. It's the people who want the oil in the form of the refiners, and I don't care how many speculators, they have to get out or the oil goes in their backyard.
Well, what happens if everybody just agrees to roll it to the next month? So you're coming up, you're on the...
It doesn't matter if they roll. At the end of the day, what I'm saying is that the deferred contracts and all the time in between the expirations, the market can be speculatively driven. But there is a religion-finding period where you can see what the real price is. And I haven't seen any expiration days that seem to jump out at me.
But what percentage of the contracts go to delivery? 100% of the contracts all go to delivery when they come to the delivery date?
Unless God's on the other side, the speculators have to get out. There has to be zero versus delivery on the last minute.
But if I'm a long and I'm a short, and both, let's say a long and a short are both speculating. So the short is speculating, he doesn't want to deliver, and the long doesn't want to take delivery. So why wouldn't they just say, okay, I'm going to roll June to Sep?
And keep doing it.
And keep doing it, rolling every 3 months.
But they have to vacate the expiration contract.
Yeah, exactly. So, but both of them do it simultaneously.
If what you're saying is some evil conspiracy, then an expiration should have this mammoth dive straight down relative to the rest of the contract.
No, well, then we'll settle up the difference. At that point, Joe and I might be long,
Only
Joe might be short.
Contract.
We're just betting with each other, okay? We're just doing a bet. I've lost my bet for this month. I say, let's continue the bet. So we don't actually go and deliver oil with each other. I go and say, okay, I'm willing to go and sell it back to you to cover the position. And we'll roll it first.
What you're describing is why the contract has moved into a wide contango in the deferred contracts, where the games are being played, where the hedgers are getting, what's a good word, not fairly treated, okay? But when it comes to the last day, gentlemen, truly, there is no speculation, and the speculators have to sell.
There's never a last day, though, is there, Rick? You just keep
last day for the contract?
Give me a date in the future where you definitely have to settle with delivery.
The future doesn't matter, Joe. What I'm saying is, if speculation in the rollover process you're talking about is making that much of a distortion, then when you do have an expiration, that price should nosedive down, because at the end of the day, in order to roll, let's say the price of oil is really $80 and the contract is at 125 and the deferreds are at 150. If the contract's only worth $85, those longs that are rolling have to sell the front to buy the back. And when they sell the front, there's not going to be a speculative bid on the last day. So it should drop $40.
Right, but the guy who's short does the same thing.
The speculative short has to go and do a front contract buy and a back contract sell. So if the longs and the shorts are basically carrying off...
You can't buy it on the last day unless you take delivery.
Right, but if you do it in the middle of the month...
Well, the middle of the month should be a distortion, but if you don't see that the rest of the history of the pricing is outrageous compared to the last minute of the last day, then the argument falls on its face.
Unless the speculators are on both sides. I'm trying to understand both sides of this.
They can't be on both sides because the speculators aren't taking the oil. It's got to go to zero. If there's 1 million contracts on the last day, somebody's got to take delivery of 1 million contracts,
that's the question.
And they don't.
How many contracts go to the last day for delivery? I mean, because
all of them.
Yeah, Rick would say eventually all of them, right, Rick?
All of them, exactly.
But the point that's being made at this table is that in the interim, there are contracts that are being rolled over, and that's creating distortion. You have no problem with that.
No, but the distortions aren't real except for the the poor gentlemen that have to hedge into the future. See, that's why the contango is showing you that we are seeing distortions. But the actual price the contract goes off on, if you just charted the last minute of the the expiring contract every day, and you plotted that graph against all the rest of the markets, you would see the distortions in the back that have emerged. But nothing jumps out at me as this $30, $20, $15 premium.
Bill, you don't hedge, right? Because you guys have your price.
We've got the fuel surcurge in place.
So it goes
but
right
right
in.
now we can't catch up.
All
to
right,
the price.
well, let's get Scott. Scott, what do you say?
The first thing I would say is the price is what the price is, and you know, if it were just speculators bidding up the price, then I don't know why oil producers aren't selling backdated futures and reaping this huge benefit coming and going. And it seems to me that the first part of a cure is to understand that you have a problem. And if this is the discussion that we're having, then the stock market is not even ready to admit that oil is a problem right now. And as far as the stock market is concerned, unfortunately, it looks like we're going to open in the S&P anyway below that 50-day moving average, which is 1371.5. And, you know, we only spent a tiny bit of time, a couple of days below the 50-day moving average in April, and we jumped right back. That will be disappointing, and that's not going to be good for the market. If we get the feeling that, yeah.
Well, how long can the stock market ignore oil at these levels?
I think that we've started to pay attention because some of the other issues are going away. The credit crisis problem is receding, and we're focusing completely on oil now, so not for very long.
Okay. And Rick, Doug, Scott, gentlemen, I want to thank you very much. Rick and Doug, I'm not entirely sure where you guys are going with that argument. You both make a lot of sense to me, though.
Rick, can you do a Rubik's Cube?
You know what? There's no money in solving it, so I never used to waste my time.
I don't know. DeShield can do it in 6 minutes or something.
But I could take a 1960 Lincoln transmission apart blindfolded.
There you go. There you go. That's a good puzzle, too.
There's money in that.
Thanks, guys.